Hey guys, Tammy here, and today we've got a really hot topic. This is about finding free or pro bono legal help. This is a question I get a lot. I know I kind of say that at the beginning of videos sometimes, but it's true. I mean, I try to do videos around what you guys are asking me, right? And what you need help with. So if you need something, shoot me an email, tammy@divorceuniversityonline.com. Leave a comment on this video if there's something specific that you would like for me to talk about. But I know that trying to find free and pro bono help is a huge thing for a lot of people. So many people go through this. It's so expensive. It's so difficult and complicated. And when you can't afford an attorney, it's kind of like, what do you do? When you are going through this and you're looking for free legal help, a lot of people will go and they will punch in the words free legal help, pro bono legal help. Okay. So the first little tip I'm going to give you is about what to actually search for in Google. Because the thing I will tell you is that this is different in every state. The level of free legal help is different in every single state. Okay. So I'm going to try to share with you some of the little things that I know. But ultimately, you're going to have to go out and Google it, right? We all love Googling it to find information, right? The word that's usually used for this is called legal aid. Okay, that's what most states call it. I'm in California, and specifically I'm in San Diego, and there's actually a legal aid society of San Diego. So if you're in San Diego, you can Google that. I'll already tell you that'll come up. So most places it's called legal aid. And I think as a layperson, we don't usually think of that. We think of pro bono or free or something like that. And a lot of times just typing in legal aid and your state name will pull up several options. If you want to include the word custody, that might narrow it some for you. Or if you want to include the words family law. So legal aid, your state, like California, I would say legal aid, California, family law, legal aid, California, child custody, something along those lines. That is going to pull up probably a lot of the nonprofits and the resources that are available in the state. Now, one of the problems that we have is I think people will often say, well, can't you get assigned an attorney? Because, we always hear about, people having public defenders, right? And we see that on TV a lot, and we kind of think, oh, can we request a public attorney? No, public defenders are for when you are charged with a criminal action. Okay, so if you end up being charged with contempt in your family law case, then you can request a public defender because the contempt is a criminal action. And so because it's criminal, then that invokes your Fifth Amendment rights where you are entitled to representation. And so they assign a public defender if you can't afford someone. Family law is not a process where they're deciding guilt or innocence. So it doesn't affect, your Fifth Amendment rights in that way. And so you don't get assigned a public defender. They don't have that for family law. The other thing I think that we get asked a lot that people don't understand is they say, well, do you work on contingency? And the answer to that is no. The cases, I have never known, I will say it this way, I have never known of a family lawyer that worked on contingency. Okay, I've never seen that because contingency is normally for like a personal injury case or something that's going to have, medical malpractice, things that have a potential to have a large payout. Then you see them work on contingency because then when the payout comes, they can take their cut, right? And we don't have that in family law. As a matter of fact, sometimes people don't have any assets at all. So there is no kind of windfall that's coming. That's a contingency that we could work on. And if there is a case where a windfall is coming, probably that person has access to funds or credit or something to pay for their case, right? The people that don't, that are looking for free or pro bono, you probably don't have a windfall coming in your case anyway, most of the time. Sometimes the other person's withholding, that does happen, but it's not as common. Usually it's just that it was already a low income or struggling situation. And now this is kind of the icing on the cake, right? So it's important to understand kind of those distinctions and the terminology to use when you do start looking for things, or asking for help. The other thing I will tell you is that a lot of the courts have workshops. A lot of the courts have an office at the court that will actually help you with documents and things for free. Now, this is kind of like trying to get into the DMV, right? It can be difficult because there's usually long lines and, people waiting and whatnot. But I know in California specifically, our offices are called the Family Law Facilitator's Office, and every courthouse in California has a Family Law Facilitator's Office where they will help you with paperwork and moving things through the system. Okay. They've got attorneys that work in that office, and they will try to do what they can to help you move things along in your case. So that is one resource. Some states I've heard call it friend of the court. There's different things like that. And so that is going to be probably local to your jurisdiction, so your county, as to whether they have that or not. But again, it's a good option to explore and look at because it is totally free. A lot of times you can find workshops, clinics, different things that are put on by either like try your local law library. There is a law library in every county in every state. There are law libraries all over. Just like we have regular libraries, there are law libraries. So you can go in there. A lot of times the librarian, is very knowledgeable and can be very helpful and point you to resources. But a lot of times the libraries put on clinics and workshops and different things like that to help with these types of issues where you're struggling. Another great place to look is your local bar association. A lot of times they will put on clinics and workshops and things. I know that early on when for those of you that don't know, my husband passed about 18 months ago. He was an attorney, he's a family law attorney. That's how I got, into this. And I know that for us in the very beginning, when we started his practice, about 16 or 17 years ago now, we did free workshops. We would do free workshops all the time, because we were, partly because we were trying to generate business and partly because it was good advertisement for our business and we wanted to help people. And it just had a multitude of benefits. And so we would put on free workshops. I know that there is a workshop that is, again, here in California, but it's also at different places across the country. It tends to be in bigger cities, but sometimes smaller ones too. It's called Second Saturday. So there's a Second Saturday workshop where you can learn a lot. And I don't think that one's free, but it's like a low cost one, right? Like $75 or something along those lines, where you can, get information and help. There's local people. It was started here in San Diego, and there's local people, practitioners across the country that conduct those Second Saturday workshops as part of their business. So there's a lot of like little low cost things like that you can do. And ultimately, if you can't, find any free legal help, then you essentially have to educate yourself, right? That's what you have to do because you're going to be your own attorney if you can't find help. So the education becomes a big piece of it. The other thing that you can do sometimes you can find unbundled attorneys. And again, this isn't necessarily a free option, but it can be a low cost option. And again, if you go to Google and you Google unbundled attorney and your city or county or whatever, then that will usually come up. And those people a lot of times will do paperwork only help. I'm not an attorney. I'm a legal document assistant in California, but I do that kind of help, on my website where I'm just doing paperwork only for people. So you can find that kind of resource locally and have it done by an attorney's office. Thomas and I did that for a while, did unbundled services as part of his practice. And a lot of times people that do unbundled services will also do what we call consulting services, which is where, okay, you're going to represent yourself, but you're going to go into court and you want to ask questions or you want to prepare, you want to get advice or whatever. You can go buy an hour of that attorney's time and be able to help you prepare for going in and representing yourself in court. A lot of great resources like that. And then, of course, the one I am most fond of is coaching services. I do a lot of coaching for people that frankly can't afford attorneys. And, I have one-on-one coaching clients, but I also have a group coaching program, which I find gives a lot of people access to a lot of information that they can't find anywhere else, at least not for that level of cost. And I try to have options that are available, that are affordable for everybody. And, I recently had a client that came into that group, and they told me that they had learned more in the first week in that group than they had the whole last 2 years of having an attorney. So it's one thing to have an attorney that is going to handle the whole case for you, and obviously legal advice and all those kinds of things, but it doesn't actually educate you on the process and help you understand how to best advocate for yourself and what kind of perspective that the court is going to take, and how to frame your concerns or your issues or your whatever. That all comes from kind of starting to sort of shift your paradigm into understanding how the courts come at this. And so the education for yourself is extremely helpful, whether you have an attorney or you don't, but I'm assuming you don't if you're watching this video. So you have to find other low-cost alternatives if you ultimately can't find that pro bono help. I hope that you are able to find that through some of these different venues that I've given you, or this at least gives you some resources. There is a publisher called Nolo Press, Nolo, and they publish books on divorce and family law for, I think, every state in the country. There's definitely one for California. I believe there's one for every single state. How to do your own divorce in California, how to do your own divorce in New York, how to do your own divorce in Indiana, how to do your own divorce in Arkansas, whatever it is, wherever you are, they have probably published a book for it. So again, you can go to Google, you can look up Nolo, Nolo Press, lots of great resources. It's where my husband used to always send people who, said like, what are some low cost options and all that kind of thing. Go look at those books because they are very well done. Probably one of the best resources on just the procedural part of the process and understanding how to move your case along in your state. So I hope this has been helpful. If you'd like to learn more about my group coaching or my one-on-one programs, you can go to Divorce University Online /VIP-coaching. There's information on that page that will help you determine which coaching option would fit you best. And thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys next time.
We'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the